Going live. Hello. I'm in two places. Well, I'm in more than two places, actually. I'm in five places. Five places I'm in. And I'm going to be looking there and I'm going to be looking there because Instagram is over here. So hello, my name is Nicole M. Louis. I'm the social worker strategy mentor. And I'm really excited to be here with you. This is just a very short live that I'm going to be doing. Why? Because I want to share with you some hacks that you are able to use if you're a social worker and you're in full-time social work. I want to just share with you some things to help you get on top of your caseload, stay organized. Then some of these things you may be doing already, some might be new to you. So I really would love for you to engage, interact, and let me know if there's anything that you're using from this. And if there are any other things that you are using that I'm not mentioning. So I'm just going to share a few things. The reason why I'm doing this live is because I've had a number of social workers that I'm consulting with that have actually spoken about the struggles that they're having with just focusing, being able to feel like they're in control of their caseload and know what's going on with their families. And this can be relevant and translated to anyone that you're working with in the social work field. Once you've got a high caseload and you're managing competing deadlines, this is going to be beneficial for you. But yeah, the social workers that I've been consulting with in particular have been saying that, you know, that they're struggling with being able to keep even their manager updated. So they're getting their managers contacting them all the time, emailing them, and that is causing them stress and worry as well, because then they feel like not only are they not keeping on top of their workload or getting back to other professionals who are asking for updates, but also their manager is like breathing down their neck, in their words. And so they feel just like stressed, they're feeling the pressure, and they just have asked, well, I've shared with them things that they can do, and I've shared with them my Get Organized, the secret system, which they are using and finding very helpful in tandem with the goal plan and journal. So I just wanted to come live really and share some of the things that I've been sharing with them, and you can hopefully utilize it as well. Hey there, thanks for joining on Instagram. And so, okay, so there are five things in particular that I think like you want to focus on, but I'm going to speak about just a couple of them just because this is going to be a short live, as I said. And the main thing is really to get you going with thinking about how you can better manage. The first thing that I always say is when you get a case, you need to audit your cases. There are two reasons why I say audit your cases. The first reason is that you get to really know your family. You get to know them. You can talk about them off the top of your head. And if you're like me and you're a visual thinker, you will remember where you read things, what things looked like. And so it will allow you to bring to your remembrance later down the line, when you need to remember particular content about the family, you can bring that to your remembrance, and it's a lot easier to recall necessary information. So you're not going to get confused between your families. Sometimes that will happen because sometimes we have families and the similarities are so great. It can be like times you will kind of get confused with your families. But for the most part, when you do this, it really allows you to succinct the information and what's the word I want to use? It just really combines the information, right? It compounds the information that you have read about the family, and you're actually able to put it together with other things. You might read something, then remember, oh yes, and then this happened for this family. This is what I read. So it allows you to really know your family first and foremost. The other reason why this is good is because you will find the pockets and the gaps of what has been missed by the local authority. That is inevitable. That's not to say that you know, the local authority is a terrible local authority, or the social worker before you was terrible at their job, but things get missed because we're all under pressure. And so it allows you to see where the gaps have been, to be able to put them in place, rectify them, and know then that you are asking of the professionals that you're working with what things they might need to be doing to support or assist the family or provide for the family that can alleviate you from having to do it. So you're able to delegate, but you want to, once your hands are on a case, like, you want to make sure that you're crossing every T and dotting every I. Don't just ever pick it up and run with it. Make sure you're going backwards and looking at what has happened, what is happening, and what needs to happen, what's been missed. So that way, you know, you can delegate the things out that need to still be done. Some of them you may need to do, but, you know, there's a system to delegating as well. And you can always find ways of other organizations or agencies that you're working in partnership with with the family to actually delegate to them. They can assist you and the work gets done, because most of the time you are the lead when you're in a safeguarding role. So that's really important. So auditing your cases is really the first thing that I would say you want to be doing. It's not too late to do it. The reason why this is important and a great way as well is because when you do that on all of your cases, you will have an overview of whether your case is a child protection, child in need, and I'm talking from a children families perspective, because I think that sector is the busiest in comparison to adults, let's say, or maybe in the mental health team. It's a different kind of pressure, and the timescales are not so competing. So I'm going to stick with children families, but of course you can apply this to any. So you'll get a clear handle on whether you've got child in need, child protection, looked after children, whether you've got legal planning meetings coming up. And the reason why this is important is because there have been times where I have done this, auditing my cases, and found that a manager has allocated the case incorrectly. It should actually be child protection because of the nature of the referral, but they may feel that they want me to go out first and see the family and see what happens. And I'm of the view, as is the legislation, that you need a mandate to proceed. You need a legal framework in which you go out to proceed. So you can't just rock up at someone's house and saying, I'm just come to see and then make a decision, right? And so, you know, cases then have been able to reallocate it to me in the right way, whether it's child protection, child in need. So you're able to see, again, that's another kind of a gap that you're able to see. So you're immediately able to see more of an overview of the families that you've got, of the types of issues, so which legal remit you're in with your case, and how many children that you've got. That's going to be your first point of call to really getting organized and knowing what on earth's going on all of your cases. Where do they complete and conflict? The second thing, after you've done that audit and you're looking at what needs to be done in terms of gaps, I want you to think about how you can delegate. So whatever the actions are that have come up either from the audit or that you just know generally that you need to do because the case has been allocated to you, you actually want to be delegating. Who in my professional network that's working with this family can take on this piece of work? So you may not be the best person to do it because of the dynamics of the relationship, but also just because of time frame, accessibility, and relationship, the quality of the relationship that you actually that person actually has with the family. If you've just taken on the case, then you don't really have a relationship with them at all, unless it's a case that's come back within the 3 months and you've kind of established a rapport with them. If you've had the case for a while or working with the family for a while and the relationship isn't so great, then you still might want to be thinking who else can actually undertake this particular piece of work or this task. And it might be simple things as far as them having a conversation with one of the family members, or being with you when you have a conversation. It really depends on what it is, but delegation is going to be key. Why? Because it allows you to offload things that are not necessary for you as the allocated social worker to undertake, but that are important. And then I want you to also think then that you are going to be available to actually do more of the pressing things that is required of you, and that is more geared towards the safeguarding. Like, that's going to actually move the family forward, move the case forward, and progress things so that you can actually work through the plan that you're working with. Yeah. And when I say plan, it doesn't necessarily mean a child need or child protection plan, because it may not have even got to that stage yet, but there is going to be some kind of plan based on the hypothesis that you have created that you are going to need to move forward, right, with. So you would already have a plan. So those are the kind of things you want to be doing. So first thing is you're going to be auditing. I'm going to try and write this in the comments as well, so you remember it. So you're going to audit your case. Yeah, then you're going to delegate. Okay, once you have audited and you have delegated, you need to be looking at, well, there's two things that I want to think of, and I'm thinking which one kind of comes in order, because I want to give it to you in a order that makes sense for you to actually follow. So I would say you've audited, you've delegated, and now I want you to think about planning. And the planning is more so about yourself, what you're doing and how you're managing your time. So the planning really talks to where your visits are, and making sure that you're capsulating all your visits on a particular day in one area. And this is especially important if you are working in a large local authority that covers a large demographic, a large area. So if you're working somewhere like in Kent, like that is a huge borough, right? And so you want to be very structured in the way you manage your visits. Because these will reduce wasting of time. It will reduce the stress that you feel. It will reduce wear and tear on your car if you're driving. But the most thing is wasting time, because your time is precious. And so doing things like making sure that just before you leave, the family are definitely there. If it's an unannounced, then make sure you're doing all your unannounced around the same time in the same location. So if one person, you go to their home unannounced, they're not there, you're already in the vicinity to do your next unannounced, and they don't know you're coming, so it's absolutely fine, right? So you've been very strategic and planning very carefully. This might feel like it's a lot to do, but trust me, once you do it and you've got that system in place, it's just about rinsing and repeating it, and it works. That's what I used to do when I was in local authority. It saves me bags of time. I used to get sometimes seven visits done in a day, and then I'm then focusing for the next 2-3 days writing it up and doing other meetings and stuff like that. It just saves you time, and it means that you're able to stay on top of your visits and ensuring that they're not out of time scales either. So things like that is really important. So the planning around, when you're seeing your families, who you're seeing, and putting them in clusters according to where they are strategically placed within the local authority is going to be really helpful for you. And then I said that I'd go through two. So, and this is meant to be a very short live, so I've got about 1 minute left. So I'm not going to go into any more. What I would say is that the auditing, the delegating, and the planning are going to be some key things. The last thing that I will say is just making sure that you have some systems in order. Systems is going to be huge. And by that, I mean, really quickly, is having your on and offline systems. So making sure that you've got ways in which you are doing your write-ups. So maybe templates that you utilize, particular pieces of research that you always use, that you'll go to for particular types of cases, whether it's domestic violence, neglect, drug and alcohol, that are up to date. And making sure that you have things like when you've left a home visit, if you didn't get to write things down, which I recommend, there's a way that you can plan to have things ready to record when you go to a home visit. But if you didn't get time to do that, how you can do that from your car or in a quiet space that's confidential once you've finished. One of the key ways that I recommend is things like talking it in your phone, your work phone, so that it will actually type it for you, and then you're able to email that to yourself, and you can simply edit that out and beef it up and do the necessaries. And that is a lot easier in terms of saving you time and ensuring that you have something written down so that you're ready to go. That's really important, because oftentimes we can lose the threading and lose some of the things that we discussed. And so it's really important that we're able to capture it while it's very fresh in our memory. Research tells us that the longer when we go back and we think about a memory, there are always pieces that we end up missing as time goes by, because just the nature of what happens, unless it was something that was so significant, so poignant, that comes with sensations, physical sensations when you remember it or recall it, such as taste or smell, then you're likely to be forgetting a lot of things that you would have picked up, and there's the detail that you don't want to leave out, that forms part of your assessment. So quite a number of things I've got in my Get Organized, the secret system. I go into detail in a number of these areas. I also have worksheets that you're able to print off, where you're actually able to write down and audit your families and your cases, and looking at your timescales, your locations, and you're also able to focus on your timeline, looking at your timeline of all your competing dates, so that you can see from a snapshot what the dates are that's coming up and how you're going to manage it. And then I put in there some scripts as well that you can use for keeping your manager up to date. This is one thing that I want to tell you, and I'm over time now, but I'm still going to do it because I want to give you this one. In terms of keeping your manager up to date, they will love you for this, because then they don't need to chase you, right? Like, your manager wants to know what's going on in your cases. If things are going to be out of date, just advocate for yourself and rock up and say, this is going to be late, because it might be because you had an emergency come in and you had to deal with that. They will know that. But the good thing is, just out of courtesy as well, and for them to be able to manage their own workload and who they're feeding back to, let them know. This is really important when you're dealing with families where you're moving towards court, or where you are already in legal planning meeting stage, or whether you're gathering evidence for whatever reason, as it relates to the safeguarding of the child. So I will encourage you to do that. And there's a specific outline that I used to use that was very thorough, very comprehensive, that my manager liked. It had specific elements that you don't want to leave out, because your manager has to remember all the cases for all the people that they are managing. And so you want to give them particular information that will allow them to know instantly who you're talking about, what the update is, and what's happening. And make sure that you share with them why there's going to be a delay. Offer as well an alternative. So don't just say, well, it's going to be late and I can't get it done. Rather, I want you to be saying things like, you know, I'm going to be able to get it done by this is what I've done. I've actually asked the GP to do this, or the school to do that. So that way they can actually see that you have done the thinking around it, and that you haven't just left it, but you're managing it. They need the confidence to know that you are actually managing it. And so those are little things that can be done to really assist. So the Get Organized system has got a number of things in it that social workers are finding really helpful. But those are just some tips that I think will really allow you to reduce the stress that you're feeling. And it might feel as though those are big pieces of work to do, but believe me when I say those are the things that are going to save you time in the long run. And the key thing that makes us feel stressed is that we have little time to do a long list of things. Yeah. And so if you do this will actually enable you to maximize your time, use your time far better, and it will allow you to be on top of your cases. You're going to know everything that's going on. You're going to know all your tasks, all your dates that are coming up, and it's going to put you in a strong position to negotiate and delegate out things that you don't need to be spending time doing, and that other people that are working with you in the professional circle can help you. But also it allows you strong negotiating power. If you get a date that comes in for something that you can see you're just too heavy in that week, you can actually pick up the phone well ahead of time and say, actually, can we reschedule this? There are going to be times where you cannot do that. When it comes to things like conferences and the like, you are going to know that you cannot reschedule those usually. But when you were there at the conference, at least the initial one, if these are review conferences, you would already see in your diary that you've got lots coming up. So when you're negotiating in that meeting, when the next conference is going to be, yes, it's going to be led by when that department can pencil you in. But again, it's about negotiating. And if you don't speak up and say, you'll never be in a position to be able to have a date changed, right? And so I know from experience that has worked for me. We have been able to look at other dates that have fallen within the timescale. Sometimes we've brought it forward so it doesn't fall out of timescale. People are willing to do that. Yeah, and I think the other thing about that, what was the other thing I was going to say about that? In terms of negotiating power, it just puts you in a strong position. When you know what all your dates are, what's coming up, and you have it at a snapshot, you can avoid things. So if you know that you have, let's go back to the example of a conference. If you know that a conference, you've got a couple in the same week, you're going to know beforehand how much time you have to do certain visits. You're just able to manage your case a lot better, because you can see that you've got a heavy week in the next fortnight. So you're going to know all of next week you need to be spending time writing, allowing time for emergencies or things blowing up on cases. And so this week you want to be top heavy in doing your visits and making sure that that they're all written up. So it leaves you and clears the deck for next week. It just allows you to strategize and plan a whole lot better, and you're able to stay on top of things. So I hope this was helpful. And if you're just joining, welcome. Just go back and watch the replay. And yeah, let me know if there's any content that you would like me to be doing. I have a ton of stuff that I have listed that I want to be sharing with you. And so I would love to know though what information you would like to know. The reason why I'm doing this as well, not just because it's about you stay on top of your caseload and reducing your stress, but it's also so that you can actually have the headspace to do other things that you like. When you're managing your time better and you're spending less time doing the things that you don't want to be doing, or spending lots of time on work stuff, it frees you up to be able to pursue your hobbies, and in the case of my clients, pursue independence. So sometimes it's literally just taking an hour a week, 2 hours a week, however you want to do it, or a fortnight, to focus on doing the activity and the tasks that are related to becoming independent. And so having these kind of systems in place and utilizing these kind of frameworks allows you to do just that, right? It allows you to stay on top of things. So I hope it's helpful. And if, as I said, this is your first time joining me, you might not know much about me. My name's Nicole M. Louis, for those of you that are just joining. And I'm a social worker strategy mentor. And I help social workers become independent, so they start their own independent practice without relying on funding, tendering, or anything in between. And they get to fill the gap in a market that is really needed, right? And working with clients, and they get to enjoy social work again. So I currently have enrollment open for the Social Workers Launch to Freedom program, which is a 6-month program that I've created, where I teach you how to you actually start your own independent practice over that period of time, and then there's another 6 months of support built in so that you can continue to do any leftover activity to get you ready. And after that year, it doesn't mean that you still have to go live and launch your business. There might be things going on for you personally, and you might want to extend it another couple of months, 6 months. I wouldn't say any longer than another 6 months, but you're getting the support really to do that. And so enrollment is open now. So you can go to the link in my bio if you are on Instagram, and you'll see it there. And I will put it here as a banner. You can go to the website, NicoleMLouis.com, if you would like to see it there. If you're on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, then if you go to the website, the information will be there. So I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. I'm going to go live tomorrow at 12:30 this time, because I have another appointment and meeting that runs into past 12. So I will hopefully see you by 12:30 tomorrow GMT. Thank you so much for joining. It's been lovely having you.